You're listening to Opera Box Score.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wherever you are, however you're listening, it's America's talk radio show about opera. It's Opera Box Score. I'm Weston Williams, joined by Oliver Camacho, Matt Cummings, Ashley Hardgrave, and former co-host George Cederquist. Hey. All right, this week, friend of the show, Kerriann Otaño, goes inside the huddle. As Opera Delaware's VP of Engagement, Otaño returns to share news about Delaware's revolutionary Studio Artists program. Then executive producer George Cederquist gives the OBS team his halftime talk on our first season without a head coach, highlighting the positives and motivating all of us for the fourth quarter of 2025. And to continue with classic OBS content, we dip into the listener mailbag for a voicemail from a favorite caller, not their first time calling. And as it's our season finale, we'll take a break from the 2-minute drill, as all the news seems to be men behaving badly or man bickering with a Russian soprano. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, click follow on Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign, email us your hot takes by writing to mailbag@operaboxscore.com, or upload a voice memo using the You Got Something to Say tab on our website, operaboxscore.com. However you contribute, you'll get an OBS beer coaster, an OBS lapel pin, and a #1 OBS fan foam finger just for sharing your own hot take. And now, if you're wondering, why is the audio absolute garbage? Weston, have you forgotten how to edit audio? And the answer is yes, but the other answer is that we are live in person for the first time since that fateful basketball game where Oliver absolutely destroyed all of us.
Don't remind
and
me.
George Cederquist could not name 5-handle operas. Without further ado, George Cederquist, it is so nice to have you back on the show.
Drowning my sorrows in beer here at the Green.
Acknowledge our wonderful hosts at the
Oh,
Green,
we really should.
What is it called? The Greenhouse?
Green Post.
The Green Post Pub in the Ravenswood neighborhood of Chicago.
You're close. Green Post here in Lincoln Square.
Lincoln Square? Okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here, and great to just see everybody's faces again, and have a couple.
Your donations to drink cider.
We can't say that legally. Oliver Camacho, I know you are making a great sacrifice tonight. What is the news in tennis?
It's day 2 of the U.S. Open, and our summer break coincides perfectly with me being able to watch every minute of the U.S. Open after I leave this podcast recording today.
Please make sure that you're live texting Weston everything that happens, because I know he lives and dies for those updates.
I'm sweating on the pins and needles, whatever you want to call it. Matt Cummings, are you avoiding any sports to be here tonight?
I'm always avoiding sports.
We have to start getting our audience ready for the Winter Olympics. It's coming around the corner.
Are you kidding me? We haven't even started college football season yet.
Yeah. But that doesn't have quads. Well, it does, but not the kind where people are twirling.
And last, but of course not least, Ashley Hardgrave, give us the lowdown on whatever it is you have in your head.
Well, speaking of college football, I want to give the feel-good story of the week, which is the kicker for the University of Hawaii, the Fightin' Rainbows. His name is Kansei Matsuzawa. So he has just recently started playing for the Rainbows. He was at a junior college. He's a Japanese national. He just did 3 field goals in their game against Stanford this weekend, including a buzzer-beating final field goal that had the Hawaii team win over Stanford. This young man learned to kick a football on YouTube.
Incredible.
Was it AI, though?
No large language models here, just questionable YouTube content with ads every 45 seconds. But the man learned to kick and he beat Stanford. So good job, Kansuke.
He might be at the next storming of the Capitol. We don't know.
We have no
That's
idea.
YouTube for you.
I mean, I certainly don't know how to kick a football, but I do know how to make a transition. Let's talk some opera.
Huddle up. Let's go inside the huddle.
We are welcoming back on this season finale of season... Is it season 9 or season 10? Forget.
It's a season.
George, yeah.
Yeah, this is the end of season 10.
I think you're correct.
So our season 10, our big finale. We're going to review a little bit of season 10 later on in the show with one of our favorite guests, returning VP of Engagement at Opera Delaware, Kerriann Otaño.
Absolutely. America's #1 operatic hype girl. Her social content is fire. That's actually how we got her in the first place. No, she was an absolute delight. It was so nice to chat with her again about the revolutionary employment model that they're using at Opera Delaware this year.
We're going to definitely get into that topic, the Studio Arts program, as well as a little bit of their season. But we'll begin the conversation asking Kerriann about her transition from singer to administrator. We are thrilled to welcome back Kerriann Otaño, former singer and now the current Vice President of Engagement at Opera Delaware. Kerriann, welcome back to Opera Box Score.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we have some business to get to, and that is to talk about the Opera Delaware season. But for our audience who may not have been listening as far back as when you were last with us, can you just give us the brief reminder of sort of your path from singer to administrator?
Absolutely. So I had the absolute pleasure and honor of being an opera singer. I always say once an opera singer, always an opera singer, once an artist, always an artist. So I was an opera singer professionally for 10 years before I decided to move into administration. And the reason that I decided to move into administration is kind of a bummer, but also kind of inspiring. So I had been singing at the Kennedy Center. I had been at Wolf Trap and Glimmerglass. I had contracts at the Met. It was wonderful, but it was also this super isolating life with really no guarantee of a future. And I was very fortunate. I was someone who was working really consistently and had a lot of great opportunities, but still, I didn't have any community. I didn't have benefits. I didn't have health insurance. And for me, at a time when I was working at the Met, which should have been like the highlight of my career and just the pinnacle of all of my joy and accomplishments, I found myself just at my darkest period mentally and emotionally, with nowhere to turn. And it really felt like, well, this is the end of me. I felt like I couldn't express how I was feeling without seeming like I couldn't hack it as an artist, like I wasn't tough enough. And it led me down this path where I discovered like just how many artists are struggling with mental health issues. And how many of us feel super alone and isolated, and how much we've come to just accept that suffering and struggling and starving is the bargain that we make to be a working artist. So I had gotten to work at Opera San Jose, and I was a resident artist with them. And at this time, when I kind of crashed out emotionally and was thinking I'm going to have to quit opera altogether, I was very fortunate. The general director of the company at the time, Larry Hancock, recognized what was going on and said, if you like leave this contract with Opera San Jose right now, are you going to have health insurance? Are you going to be okay? Are you going to have somewhere to go? And when I told him, no, I won't have health insurance, he said, well, we're not going to have you leave in crisis. What we're going to do is we're going to replace you on this first show. We're going to have another singer come in and do this first show. You're going to work for us behind the scenes in administration. And that totally shifted my perspective on what we could do as artists, what we could do for each other, and what we could do for the next generation. So many artists, the vast majority of working artists in America, are doing something in addition to singing, to performing. Very like 5%, according to the Opera America statistics, like 5% of us are making our entire career just from being performers. But we are told in university, we are told in these young artist programs that you got to give it your all, that if you're doing anything else, if you can do anything else, then you're not cut out to be an artist. And I actually think that the best thing about being an artist is how multifaceted and versatile we all are. So because I had this opportunity to work behind the scenes at Opera San Jose and work in administration, I discovered a real passion and affinity and skill for advocacy, for marketing, for development, for education, for all the ways that I could be involved in a company beyond just what I did on stage. And the impact that I had there led to me performing better, attracting new audiences, fundraising more. And so that has led me to my role here at Opera Delaware, where I'm the Vice President of Engagement, and we're piloting the nation's first company artist model where opera singers are employees of the opera company with a housing stipend, salary, benefits, and they work with us both on stage in productions and behind the scenes in marketing, development, education. and help with the creative and artistic planning of the season. We are an artist-led opera company, and we're trying to redefine what it means to be a working artist.
Okay, wait a second. We got so much. It was a huge answer, and I'm
That's
so
wonderful.
glad. Yeah, and I'm
I'll
so
take
glad
it.
because we can go talk about the company artist. But I'm going to let Ashley know that Ashley will now talk about the Delaware season after we dig into this topic about the company artists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the employment model that you've outlined, it really is, it's unique in the American world of opera, and it's frankly revolutionary. So you gave us, a really lovely sort of nutshell description, but I'd love if you just unpack that a little bit more for us. So how did this, besides your own personal experience with this, what were the other conversations you needed to have to be like, this is something that we can do that can take care of artists and give them these transferable skills?
Well, the realization that so many people working in administration came from a performance background. There are directors, there are conductors who are music directors at opera companies. There's a lot of transferable skills, but I think for artists, particularly for the people who are on stage, for the singers, it's really seen that our skill set ends at the curtain line. That's the end of our ability. And what I realized, especially in the pandemic, was how many people were going and getting these really high-paying jobs in business. They got jobs they got into great law schools. I knew so many singers who were capable of so much more than I thought that the industry was telling us we were capable of. My boss here at Opera Delaware, Brendan Cook, he and his wife were both opera singers, and they ended up kind of saving this opera company in Baltimore over a decade ago that was going to fold. And they, with a group of friends, put together some money and decided that they were going to produce a season. They were going to figure it out, because that's what I think artists do, is we're adaptive and we're creative and we're problem solvers. So I saw this happen across the industry. I saw so many creatives who really took reins and said, well, I want to be a part of changing this and fixing it. But it was all these really isolated pockets.
Right.
So for me, when I decided to move into administration, there was a lot of pushback that one, you certainly cannot be a singer and an administrator. You definitely can't do both, which I challenge that notion.
100%.
But the idea that you couldn't do both was really because that you couldn't be committed enough to both. And with our new company artist model, we've really been able to challenge that. So we connected with these funders here in Delaware, the Longwood Foundation, and they really support this kind of visionary change. The idea here is, Delaware, we are a tiny little state, but we are smack dab in the middle of all of these incredible creative sectors. We have access to Philly, to DC, to New York. And so from an artist perspective, Delaware is actually a great place to live because you have access to all of these other communities. From the perspective of people who are residents here in Delaware, they want to have access to all this great music and these creative, beautiful, entrepreneurial people. So it benefits both the state of Delaware and these artists to create this model. We were able to get this funding because we put together a business model with the support of an organization, Social Contract. We got funding because we did a pitch competition where we talked about this in front of a room full of entrepreneurs who were like, it clicked for them. It really made sense. What we were talking about, and this idea that being an artist is additive to your community in such a huge way. Having working artists be a part of your community is additive, and that the idea of suffering and starving to make art does not make art better. And so if Delaware could be the home base of this new creative economy, we actually have like a ton of support from our state legislators. The creative economy is a thing that the state of Delaware is investing in hugely. And so Opera Delaware is like a pilot model of what that can look like.
It's like Never Land for artists.
I know. That's so incredible. And this is a comment, and Weston, feel free to edit this out, but I think it bears saying, is that we see this whole trajectory of like singer turned administrator, but it often we see it when they're in like the twilight of a longer career. How much better and stronger and smarter and more creative and problem solving could these people be if we introduced the ability to do this sort of work earlier on? And then, get you a person that can do both. Like, you've got people that can absolutely do the high level artistry and performing, but you've also got people that really understand the value of a balanced spreadsheet, and it's not something that they've got to wait until they're, retired from their 30th bohème to do. Like, they get it, sort of when their brains are a little younger and juicier and they can pull all of that stuff in together. So that's, again, edit that out, Weston, if you want to, but I think it's in some ways it feels like such a natural, obvious choice. And I'm shocked nobody's done it sooner, but it's also so revolutionary that you guys are. I really am so glad it's happening.
Thank you. I mean, it's difficult because it's complicated. It's challenging. There are a lot of roadblocks. There's a lot of complexity, but ultimately it feels like absolutely the right decision to make. I think we've seen so many artists, we've lost so many artists who leave the industry in disgust. And these are people who could be board members, who could be donors, who could be administrators, who could be advocates. There are so many things that we as artists could be, but because the industry, I think, kind of cannibalizes its own workforce by taking advantage of these young singers and getting them in a ton of debt and not really thinking about the longevity of their career, not thinking about a future for them beyond what they do on stage. These artists leave and they go and do something completely different, and they do it super well because we're smart and capable and we can figure stuff out. So to be able to create this kind of pipeline where we can get right now the benefit of these working artists who are performing across the country, having them come back to Delaware where they're programming recitals and cabarets and doing performances in the community, performing our second stage works, connecting us with new artists. We get all the benefit of doing that now. And also we're training them to eventually be the leaders and take over and really make opera what they want it to be. So I see it as being mutually beneficial, and like so important for us to invest in as a sector is like the longevity of artists' careers on and off stage.
2 weeks ago, we had this video that went viral of Renee Fleming sitting on some panel and then talking about how, there should be a class action lawsuit against schools for taking money from singers. And this feels like a really nice counterpoint to that. It's like, yeah, well, instead of just, you students, you are in charge of your own future. Instead of just learning how to sing, why not also, create your own curriculum? I mean, obviously, these conservatories should be thinking about that for the students, because we already got to learn how to be on stage and how to sing with an orchestra and how to sing in a foreign language and how to memorize, Russian IPA. There's a lot we got to stuff into our brains. But if we want to be responsible and create the next generation of artists who also can do other things, I think why not just add it to the curriculum from the start,
Yes. And there's so many of us are multi-hyphenates. So many of us have multiple skill sets, and opera has asked us to kind of push that to the side. And I think that has been a mistake that we are now correcting for, like, post-pandemic, because the fact that these artists can do all this incredible artistic programming, the fact that they have a social media presence and knowledge, graphic design, the writing skills of artists. I mean, who better to write these press releases and to get on TV and do interviews and advocate than the people who care about it? So if we can help teach them the protocols, the how it works behind the scenes. We were really lucky to get to work with Michael Mayle this last year, who was the former executive director of Washington National Opera. And he worked with us for 10 sessions, kind of working through the nonprofit landscape, everything from marketing to board, to managing board relationships, to new donor acquisition. He gave us like a crash course for our company artists. Singers, the only reason that we don't get to have a voice and a seat at the table is because we don't know the lingo. We don't know, we've been kind of siloed to just focus on what we do on stage, but we have ideas and we have perspectives to share that will benefit. So if we can just be a part of those conversations, and that takes work, that takes effort for companies to bring singers into this, to bring artists into these conversations. But the payoff is huge because then you get so much more brain power. You get so much more creative problem solving as opposed to just saying, oh, just stand over there and sing. And that's all that you can do for us. No, we have degrees. We are smart. We know about this stuff and we can contribute so much more if you give us the opportunity to. And if the industry can provide stability, then artists can deliver above and beyond what we've been able to do in the past. Like this is what is needed for opera to survive and thrive in America.
They're happy to trot us out for the development event, like to sit down at a fancy dinner. Wouldn't it be that much more powerful if they could trot us out to one of those events and we also had like all the information about the finances and about the strategy that we could talk about as well?
Yes, absolutely. And like that expertise and that curiosity, the way that when Opera San Jose invested in me, beyond just what I could do on stage, but really as a person, I wanted to deliver for them on stage and off stage. I wanted to advocate. I wanted to be a champion for that company. That's what we're seeing with our company artists here at Opera Delaware. They go out and they are our biggest cheerleaders for this program, advocating and spreading the word about what we're creating here. And that's what we need. I mean, as artists, we have heard so many times singers leave programs and it's just, I'm going to tell you all the things that the company did wrong, but nobody in the company knows that the artist noticed all those things that were going wrong because nobody's asking the artist. You're temporary labor. You're only there for a short period of time. So you're not even, it's not even possible for you to have those conversations. At Opera Delaware, we want to learn about those conversations. We want to hear what you're seeing and we want to challenge you to help us create the solutions. And I think that singers really take that and run with it.
Well, before we run out of time, I do want to just talk about what your specific studio artists are doing this year as part of the season. So the season announcement was just published. We have a Tosca, and we have really happy to hear about this Andrea Chenier. That's not something you hear companies performing. So we'll probably have a whole other episode just about Andrea Chenier in the future. But can you talk to us about what do you call this? The studio series? I see there are 4 events that are specific to the studio series.
Yes. So we did all the artistic programming with the company artists involved in the conversation. So traditionally, there's a really small group of people who are deciding on the artistic perspective of the opera company. With this, we needed to start earlier and have longer conversations. But the end result is that we have people doing role debuts that are going to be useful for them for the rest of their career. We have a season where we're really saying something. So with both Tosca and Andrea Chenier, we were deciding, yes, first the music was part of what made us choose these pieces, but the story and the role that artists play in revolution, the role that artists play in standing up against fascism. It's a poet in Andrea Chenier. It's a painter and an opera singer in Tosca. It's artists who have something to say, and I really think that speaks so strongly to what Opera Delaware is trying to create. Second stage, the artists are really in the driver's seat with the artistic programming. So we're doing a production of Pagliacci and Service Provider. These are a shortened redux version of Pagliacci that's about 45 minutes. And the goal there is that this is then programming that we can take across the state. We have partners at different breweries and restaurants, and both of these pieces will do so well across the state. So our artists helped us come up with that programming. Also with this Opera Deathmatch, which is an opera and boxing kind of slam dunk, honestly, for me. So we have this amazing co-host, Dave Tiberi, who is a boxing champ. He is a Delaware superstar, and he is helping to like co-produce this event with us that's going to take place in a boxing ring. And it's all about like rivalries in opera and the connection between opera and boxing.
Very on brand for this podcast.
Very on brand for yes, we love it. We love some sports, but also, I mean, those type of things, we never would have had the capacity or the bandwidth to come up with creative programming like that. We're just trying to survive in most of these nonprofits. We're just trying, okay, what can we put out? What greatest hits concert can we produce? And that's the challenge that this allows us to give to these artists is, what do you want to say? What do you have to say? Who do you want to connect with? And then the creativity is just off the charts. We're doing these Puccini portraits that are 3 reductions of Butterfly, Tosca, Fanciulla, with piano and string quartet. And so again, it allows us to be more portable, more mobile, to go across the whole state and present these pieces. So all of this creativity really came from having the artists in the room with us, to discuss, okay, what's the budget? What are the pitfalls? When do we need to get these decisions made? Getting them involved in all of those conversations made those conversations a lot more exciting to have and a lot more fruitful and creatively fulfilling, I think, for our audience. So I'm so excited to see the way that people are already responding to it. Tickets are already like selling for things that are happening months and months from now, because people know the integrity behind this process and like all the artistic joy and love that went into our artists creating this. So I'm so stoked.
I also love the stylizing of the Death Watch with the D and the E capitalized. So it's Opera Death Watch.
Very cute.
Opera Delaware, folks. Opera Delaware. So
Opera Delaware, we go hard. We go hard.
You do. You go hard. You're nimble. You also get to hold a lot of corporations on a federal level. It's really wonderful.
Yes, it's true.
Speaking of revolutionary, and we have this conversation a lot on this show, is that, opera these days isn't necessarily competing with anything except people's couches. And so, to try to get people to come out and do things, it is way less intimidating for someone who is opera curious to go to a brewery than it is to go to whatever the opera house is, and it may be closer to them. So it's something that I think is really so, I know, I feel like I keep singing your praises, but you deserve them, because this is such a great, cool, awesome season. And I just really appreciate you're giving them, your studio artists, like a chance to really have their input and have something to say. Speaking of having something to say, when you are situated in Delaware, you are precariously close to our nation's capital, which has been a place where, well, let's be honest, a lot of news has been happening there as of late, and a place that has been, pretty pivotal in your career, which was the Kennedy Center. There's lots going on there. So I would love to just hear a little bit from you, as deep as you're comfortable going, about sort of what your take is on what's happening in arts in general in 2025, but also drilling that down into sort of like the goings on in DC.
Yeah. I was just in DC a couple of weeks ago speaking at the Kennedy Center at the Summer Opera Institute, and I was really struck by these young people, and at first how the conversation started, you could see the distrust that they had in the institution. You could see the kind of fear and apprehension that they had about the future of this art form. And through their time of being at this institute, where they're working with people like us, these people in arts administration, these people who are continuing to fight, we're not going to allow this to be taken away from us. We're not going to allow this to be taken away from our artists. Yeah. It's scary to see what's happening at the federal level. It's scary to see what's happening with the with the Endowment of the Arts, with the Kennedy Center specifically, with everything that our government is doing to kind of silence and disenfranchise artists and creatives. I think it's an intentional move, because without creative thinking, we don't have revolutionary ideas. Without without artists to kind of reflect the times, we end up just kind of in this endless cycle of bureaucracy and capitalism and just joyless work. And I think that it really falls on us as artists to push back, but it can feel so isolating. And that's a big part of the problem with the way that the model currently operates, is that we're all these kind of silos. We're all just individual artists, and we need to come together and see our collective power. So I was struck after spending time with these young people at the Kennedy Center by the hope that they instilled me with at the end of this session. I was like, I want to have a really blunt conversation with you about what I'm scared of and what makes me hopeful, and what we're doing to try to change it. But I also want you to know that you guys are a part of this. You have to be an active part of this. I know you're 17. I know you haven't started college yet, but you have to be a part of forcing this to change and speaking out against it. And I really think that there's a collective awakening among artists, because in a way I'm almost grateful, I would say. Like, please challenge us and push back against artists, because we will come back stronger and we will fight. So I'm excited to see what the next couple of years is going to hold. I don't think that in any way, shape, or form what has been pushed on us with the changes to the Kennedy Center, I don't think that that is the end of us. I think that's going to be a rebirth.
Kerriann Otaño is the Vice President of Engagement at Opera Delaware. For more information about their season and what Kerriann is doing, look for the links on the webpage for this episode of Opera Box Score. Kerriann, thank you so much for coming back. Obviously, we could have you on for multiple episodes, but we just wanted the audience to know about the exciting things that are coming in store for this season.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to get to talk to you again. I can't wait for the next one.
Our thanks again to Kerriann Otaño, administratrix, coined by trademark Matt Cummings, for being a return guest on Opera Box Score. She's 2, and I think Ari Nussbaum-Cohen is 3 visits, and Hugh Montague Randall is 2 visits. So there's like this elite club of
it's like the SNL Five Timers Club.
I really think we should start a punch card program. So by your 5th one, you get to host the whole show.
We could see if we can get the Green Post to do like a collaboration with us, so they get a free beer or something.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me? They're going to kick us out of here.
I'm a little worried. I'm seeing some glances.
Before I forget to say it, those of you who heard last week's episode, Anne Majette posted about our episode, and she just wants to make sure that she didn't sound flippant about her comment, and you can just read her post, but please do follow her on her social media and see what she has to say about her appearance on Opera Box Score, which I think she enjoyed.
Well, we enjoyed it.
I had a great time. I wasn't there, but it was a great time.
Someone who can go toe-to-toe with Oliver is always Class A dame in my book.
Speaking of Class A dames, let's go to the Chalk Talk.
Chalk Talk on Opera Box Score.
Class A dame George Cederquist is in the building. George, it's been, oh gosh, how long has it been since your last appearance on the show?
10 months?
Well, not really, because I taped that tribute to Robert Wilson.
That is true. That is true.
But you came on at the start of season 10 to give us the middle finger, basically.
It's not a middle finger. It was a high five.
Oh, when I narrowly missed your goodbye because they were repaving Lakeshore Drive. Truly by like 3 minutes.
Well, it's the end of the season. We're taking next week off and the 2-minute drill off this episode, but we'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new season, season 11. Jeez. So it's time to take stock of some of the great programs that we had over the past year, some of the great guests we had over the last year, all of which George missed out on.
But we're also willing to hear some feedback, some constructive criticism.
Yeah, hit us with some feedback, George. Give us your worst.
It's so great that we're all together here at the Green Post and we're looking into each other's eyes. The roster of guests that you assembled exceeds every expectation I ever had 10 years ago of the sorts of people that will be willing to blow 20 minutes of their life to talk to you. And I mean, when I look at this list here, Anne, Kevin, Elizabeth, Enrique,
We're
Joshua,
on first name bases with
Drew,
every single
Yuval.
listener.
Patty, Andy, Yuval, Nate,
Creatine.
Lucy, Yesty, Davey, Elena, Mikey.
You're just reading every single name on the list.
and
Only the first
Ricky
half.
and Missy.
Missy
Thank
Mazzoli,
you very
yeah.
much. I'm just so overwhelmed by the fabulous artists that we have in our business that you've had on this show. It really is so far beyond what I ever thought. That said,
Oh, here it is.
I love the March Madness show. I'm going to talk about the
I
March
hear a
Madness show,
butt coming.
and I cannot believe that Glyndebourne lost in the final. You all were
Salzburg.
No, sit down. It's like to Salzburg, fine, because like I've been to Glyndebourne
Drink.
and I've been to
Literally
Salzburg, and there's no. What were you collectively? You lost your minds. It's Glyndebourne. It's country opera. It's in the language.
We're tearing down the aristocracy.
I
Every
Yes, for the-
single day.
I get that. I get that. There's many ways to do that, though. And, like, OTSL, God love them. They are... I was actually surprised that OTSL got into the Final Four over Santa Fe. That was surprising. But to have Glyndebourne lose in the final to Salzburg, I could not disagree with that more.
I'm looking at your notes, George, and on the next one on your list of many, many detractions against our tenure since you've been gone, I just see something that says, not enough Gilbert and Sullivan? What does that mean?
Yeah, I can't quite read that part. It definitely doesn't say bring back the Mikado.
Wait, hang on. I'm looking at your hands, and you have written, are those the names of 6 Handel operas?
Are you kidding me? That's my tattoo.
So that he can always remember that fifth one.
This is not going to be a surprise that for me, the highlight of the season was the interview with Yuval Sharon. I mean, obviously not just only getting him on the show, but one of his phrases really stuck with me, which is, there is no one size fits all in opera. And his point was, if you remember back to the interview, his point was like, opera is so much about the present moment that you can't have one production that plays in multiple different cities and means the same things to different people. Like, the art form is alive. This was his point. The art form is alive. The art form is changing, and it's our job as directors, administrators, singers, designers, audience members to like really try and be in the present moment with this piece. And I just thought he described that so eloquently in that interview. I have to give a shout out to his producers or editors at, I think it's W.W. Norton, who released his book as well, which is it's in the pile. And I haven't gotten to it yet.
I've
but
started it, not to brag or anything.
Really? Yeah, I'm really excited for that. So for me, that was a highlight.
Yeah. I'm curious, what do the rest of you think were highlights from this past season? Because I imagine that whatever Oliver picks will be the opposite of whatever George picks.
Well, I want to say that more often than not, I'm driving content on the show, which may be obvious from my title here as creative consultant. Why am I going to get promoted to being a co-producer of this show?
Creative superintendent. Just keep your nose in the grindstone.
I do, when I relinquish some control, I do end up learning some things, especially on episodes that I haven't really participated in. But I have to say the Hall of Fame on George Schulte's recordings was actually, I learned a lot about that.
Oh,
and that's
thank you.
Yeah, and that's something that I should know more about since I work in the industry of classical music recordings. And George Schulte is a Chicago figure. So that's memorable for me. I do also love having once again, the TKO.
I knew he was going to rub that in my face. Just because Herbert von Karajan likes to conduct Butterfly really slowly.
That was earlier in the year. We had Anthony Baresi be the judge for TKO on Mirella Freni versus Anna Malfa. 2 singers who I adore. But I love that Anna Malfa recording of Butterfly so much. That's my first Butterfly recording. I know it's the wrong Fach, but it's so intimate. and the Italian is so good, and the drama is there. I bawled like a child when I first heard that recording, and I still love that opera, as racist as it is. So
I mean, they're both really good recordings. What it is cannot be said enough. Like if there's anyone that I could lose to, it would be the person with whom I beat you with for the Lucia TKO on a mouthful.
There is a certain amount of, I already won that one, so don't even worry about it. Matt, do you have any highlights from this past season?
I just went back today in preparation for this question and revisited.
Ooh, they got all quiet for you. Like,
It got quiet enough to hear a pin drop on the Screaming Divas. Your free throw with Sandra Radvanovsky was so fun to get to see another side of her, since we're always seeing her like go through the most terrible toils and travails on stage and sounding great and pumping out more sound than any human thought would be possible. But to hear about the person behind that artistry, it's such a unique look. And I really appreciate being a part of a show that gets to bring that to fans.
She's really down to earth, and she moved to Evanston, Illinois, so she's basically our neighbor now.
Yeah. You should come over right now.
Yeah, I know.
We should. I'll bake you zucchini bread. Come hang
out with me. All around.
Which guest would you bake zucchini bread for, Ashley Hardgrave?
Ashley is actually great at making soup, so ask her to make soup for
okay.
So, yeah.
That is correct. I should have a soup dinner for you gentlemen. You should come to my home.
A Super Bowl?
There it is. Well, speaking of sports, everybody's got their role to play on this show. And I think it comes as no surprise that I self-identify as the sports scholar and the personality hire of this operation. And so one of my favorite times that we had over the last season was when we got to interview a lovely singer named Creatine Price. Because I think it's such a fun interview, and I love that for this show in particular, we've got all these different brains that live in these different areas of opera scholarship and performing arts scholarship. So we can celebrate where it's been in terms of history and recordings and celebrating some of the greats. We celebrate where it is by interviewing some of the singers kind of the day. But we also are forward thinking in where we think the art form is going and where we want it to go. And so to work with someone like Creatine, who is really kind of on this cutting edge of the types of performances that opera can have and opera can bring, that was something that was very terribly exciting for me. And that is the second guest that I have scouted for us through Instagram.
I mean, it's the power of social media, folks. If you know anyone who would be great on the show and you just know them through Instagram, slide in their DMs for us and be like, hey, do you want to be on Opera Box Score? And if you have any friends who might want to listen, let them know too.
I'm
you
like,
can
what?
follow
Opera
us.
Box? What?
Opera Box Score? Opera Box what? I really do have to enunciate it whenever I say what the name of the podcast is.
I was not part of the creation of the name of this show. So.
Someone here was, but we won't say who.
What about you, Weston? What was something that you want to recall?
I mean, kind of like George, I'm looking at the list of all of our names. I'm kind of staggered by some of these names that we got. Missy Mazzoli is one I wanted to be on the show for such a long time. I love her work. She was one of the first living composers that I got really attached to in my youth. I think that's fantastic. We got Michael Spires for a little bit. It was really cool, even though it was a very brief conversation. We not even a conversation, it's a question, really, to Klaus Mekala, who is now the...
we got 30 seconds with Klaus
We literally got 30 seconds with them, but
more than most people these days.
It really kind of, it resonated. Like, I see some of the stats and people are like, oh, Klaus Mekala said something to us, and that's something I want to listen to, which I think is great. I
held my phone while Klaus Mekala was talking.
Exactly. I mean, and now we have to frame that phone and put it away forever because, wow, he breathed on it. Also, I really loved the interview we did with Ricky and Gordon earlier in the season.
Yeah, when his book came out.
When his book came out, Oliver and I both read the book. I read the book for real. Oliver used an audiobook, just saying.
I can't read.
Oliver can't read. But that was just a really
something to work on for when you become a producer.
Yes, that's the test.
That's holding you back.
But just like the glimpse into the artistic mind of someone like that is always fascinating, and I feel like he was willing to truly bear it all on our show too, just to sort of tell us about his childhood trauma and also his artistic process and the things that he loves. And I think that's one of the great things about Opera Box Score, especially this past season, is we've gotten so many people who are really passionate about what they're doing in the industry. And, even some of the ones that we have that aren't necessarily the biggest names in the world have something to say that is so relevant and so important. And as someone who is a complete imposter to the opera scene myself, not singing or directing like any of my esteemed colleagues, I do feel that, that perspective of just the passion coming through is what I look for in a great guest. And we had so many.
Well, before we wrap this segment up, George, do you have more that you wanted to talk about in terms of where the direction of the show is going or what you'd like to see in the 11th season?
For me, one thing we haven't talked about yet, and this really is a thing from sports, is the fans. I've been so overwhelmed because I am the guy who monitors the mailbag at operaboxscore.com account, and I am always overwhelmed by the people who write in, the people who donate, the people who send some weird photos. And it's just like people are listening. People are moved by what we do. People throw $20 our way. And it really is for the fans. And if you are listening to the show, thank you. Thank you for being one of our fans. And thank you for continuing to listen.
If you want to send weird photos to George, you can do it operaboxscore.com. You got something to say. Or mailbag at operaboxscore.com. You know what? Let's go into the listener mailbag.
Yeah, you got something to say? Then yeah, all right, you can say something. This is Listener Mailbag.
Hello? Is anybody there? George? It's me. It's Anthony from the Bronx. I've called you before, George. How come you don't pick up the phone anymore? I thought we had a great relationship. We could talk about opera. We could talk about sports. But I don't know what happened. Was it me? Did I do something to offend you? If so, I'm very sorry. Anyway, I hope you're doing well, George. By the way, how's Oliver? And how's Dustin? Anyway, I'm sure you'll call me back at some point. Maybe it went to your spam mail. Okay. I'll talk to you later, George. I'll see you.
Good call. Bad call on Opera Box Score.
Good call, bad call. That's how we end every show, even if we're all a little schwasty at the bar. Let's start with George Cederquist.
I got a bad call, unfortunately. Is
it about the Gilded Age?
It's not. No, I don't even know what that is. But Frank Luzzi, friend of the show, friend of mine, friend of all of ours, informed me that the Opera Philadelphia Fantasy Football League is no longer a thing, capital A, capital T. But wait, it's okay, because I think, nature abhors a vacuum, and I believe that this time next year, we will start on the OBS our own Fantasy Football League.
Ooh.
If that's something that, you might be interested in, you can write to us, mailbag, operaboxscore.com. It's not going to happen this year. The season starts on September 4th. There's not enough time. But my goal now is to try and make some sort of a fantasy football league happen. And we'll make sure Frank is in it. And we'll make sure that we crush Frank.
Let's go to Matt Cummings.
I have a good call for a wonderful performance that I had the pleasure of attending alongside Oliver yesterday. The Haymarket Opera concert performance of Alcina at the Ravinia Festival. Nicole Cabell has been a favorite of mine since I was getting into opera way back 20 years ago, and I thought she brought really intriguing stage presence, a glamorous tone, and a lot of fun to the role. I was absolutely blown away by Emily Fons in particular. Her Sta Eliocana was one of the fastest I've ever heard, and the ornaments were so exciting. I was literally tapping my toes.
Ashley Hardgrave.
What would it be in good call land without Ashley doing a non-opera call? We've got to stay consistent.
On brand.
There's a really great dance studio in New York City called Steps on Broadway, and their social media content is incredible. They film a lot of like combinations that they're teaching their people. See, this kid is crying. It's so good. There's a choreographer named Jason Williams who has put together this combination for, stay with me listeners, Tevin Campbell's Can We Talk? One of junior high Ashley's favorite songs ever. It's a beautiful lyrical combination. And so there's a clip of Jason Williams, the original choreographer, doing it, and then a series of other dancers doing it. And everyone is better than the next. It's smart, it's beautiful, it's lyrical. Every dancer makes it their own. I love Broadway dancers. I love them so much. Definitely check out Steps on Broadway's social media channel.
Creative consultant for now, Oliver Camacho.
Well, the 2-minute drill is lucky that it's taking a break because there were some stories that happened, which maybe we will skip altogether. But you might have heard about Julian Walkner being arrested, former conductor of Trinity Wall Street. Yeah. There's a friend of the show who is in a little PR mess right now. We don't have to talk about it. Of course, the Anna Netrebko and Peter Gelb Get a Room story continues.
What will happen next?
Yes. But my good calls go to Meridian Prawl, friend of the show, who placed second at the Queen Sonia competition in Oslo. And the winner was also an American singer, Kathleen O'Mara. So congratulations to both of them. And I also want to shout out our friends at Counter Melody podcast, which did an episode to correct the record on the late tenor David Rendell. Go listen to David Rendell on Counter Medley. It's a great episode.
I have a bad call and a good call. My bad call is probably the audio quality of this episode. Unless I do a really good job, then it'll be a good call. My actual good call is that I got my hands on a recording of the Hans Werner Henze version of Claudio Monteverdi's Return of Ulysses to his homeland, and it's kind of a bop. There's an accordion in it. There's some electric guitar. What more could you possibly want? That is it for this week's edition of America's Talk Radio Show about opera. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Get your voice heard and find links to stuff we've talked about at our website, operaboxscore.com, and that's also where you can put your money where our mouths are. Give back to the OBS using the Support the Team tab. Your announcer is Norm Waddell, your creative consultant is Oliver Camacho, and your audio editor is me, oh God, oh God. The executive producer of the OBS is George Cederquist. For co-hosts Matt Cummings and Ashley Hardgrave, with guest Kerriann Otaño, I'm Weston Williams, asking you to continue the conversation about opera as you learn to kick a football from YouTube. We're back with an all-new show next week when we hear George Cederquist's top replay requests, plus you get more opera headlines, more hot takes, and more nature-abhorred vacuums. Join us.